ready? Oh my goodness! Hey guys, it's Joel and welcome back to the channel and welcome to a video which I am extremely excited about. If you have been watching the channel for a while, you'll know exactly why, because of the car that is parked behind me. It is an E63 BMW M6. I have become obsessed with these over the past few years and really would like to get my hands on one, and today is the very first time I'll actually be experiencing one, A, from the passenger side, but also from behind the wheel. So rather than me just standing here and talking to you, let's stop wasting time and jump in the M6. Ladies and gents, here we are in the M6. Welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for bringing the M6 down today. If you guys have been watching the channel, like I say, for a little while, you will have actually seen this car on the channel before. Back when I went to the Vanity BMW event, I guess a few months ago, we bumped into each other, didn't we? And you very kindly told me that you had an M6 and you brought it down. And we gave it a few revs and said from there that we must do another video, and here we are today. So I guess, could you kick it off by sort of just a couple of questions? Yeah, sure. How long have you had this car?
Since June.
Since June?
Yeah.
So what's it now? It's like September now, isn't it? So 3-4 months?
Yeah, not a long time, but yeah.
And it's a second car for you, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the way to go if you want one of these, because I think if you had it as a daily, you'd end up not being able to use it as you wish, as like a special occasion car.
Yeah.
And also, when you get in it at the weekend, it's more special, it's more of an occasion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I have to say I'm very excited because I've never been inside on the road in an M6 before, and we are coming up to a tunnel. And obviously these things are known for their sound, so I'm very excited to hear what this sounds like. This one's got an AC Schnitzer kit on it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
That's the front and...
Yeah, so front and rear. I'm not sure about the skirts on the side.
Okay.
But it's got a spoiler and I think exhaust tips.
Okay, so, yes. Yeah, they're different to the standard ones.
Yeah. It does look a little bit unique.
Yeah, I've definitely never ever seen one before with the kill. And they're rare as it is as well.
Yeah.
The tone of it is so aggressive. Well, amazingly, it's now time for me to have a go in the M6. I'm really excited. I'm actually really excited because I've watched endless videos on these cars, and now I finally get a chance to drive one, which is amazing. Shall I get the engine started so we can have some air conditioning?
Let's do that, yeah.
So brake on, is that fine where it is?
It should be a neutral.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Just click the button. So at the moment we're in neutral.
Yep.
Just need to knock it over to the right, and that will put it in drive.
And that's like auto?
Yeah, that's automatic mode. So it should go into second gear. Usually pull away in second gear.
Really?
It's smoother. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. In first, it's a bit it's a bit leery.
Right.
So when it's just in like bog standard normal comfort mode, it'll pull away in second.
Okay. Cool. So put it in here.
Yep.
To drive. Oh, it's got a manual handbrake.
And a manual handbrake. Yeah. And then you just press the accelerator, it should. Yep.
We're away.
There you go.
Very smooth that was actually. I mean, I was extremely gentle there with the accelerator, but that did feel very smooth. This car is a bit larger than the Z4, it has to be said. First impressions, it's actually, I mean, I've driven all of about 0.1 miles. It's smooth, isn't it?
It is.
It's not, you know, everyone goes, oh, it's so lurchy.
It's more like now when we're pulling away, if it's going to be lurchy.
Yeah, like that I had to change a little bit what I was doing with my foot to make it go, but
it's not a great deal. I mean, you're being picky if you say it's too much.
Yeah. The steering's very light as well. That's my first sort of other observation. I don't think we've mentioned in the video. I'll give a few sort of figures now. So obviously 5 litre V10, right?
Yep.
Just shout at me if I get anything wrong. 5 litre V10, it's 500 brake horsepower, 507 I believe. Now, as standard when you get in the car, it's 400 until you press that all-important M button, which you can configure exactly how you like. So it drives now, it's very, very smooth. The steering's very light. I thought the gear changes would be more lurchy, especially in automatic mode. They're not by any means fast shifts or seamless, but you don't feel them. I thought it would be really lurchy.
It's not, I'm not going to make out that it's some fancy double clutch system that's, you know, it's just like bang, bang. But for what it is, I think it's alright.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of talk online about it being like the gearbox is terrible.
Yeah.
I don't think it's terrible. There's just other boxes are better.
Yes.
Or faster and smoother,
and this one is just very much of its time.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day it was.
It's 14 years old, this car.
Yeah.
So
give it a little bit of acceleration. It pulls so well.
Yeah.
I'm surprised because I mean that was only up to about 5,000 RPM, perhaps 6,000 maybe.
It's just waking up.
And it's not. Yeah, I mean it's got 2,500 more, which is where all the power is. So I'm surprised actually.
Yeah, you're just getting into the power.
That it's as torquey as I thought. You know, I didn't think it would be quite as progressively powerful. But
we are in comfort mode as well.
We're in comfort mode. We're not even in 400.
We're at
500 brake
slow gear changes or manual as you are now.
Yeah.
But the engine is, you know, half asleep.
Yeah. So as we have been driving relatively slowly because you know there's a lot of traffic. It's Sunday and it's so busy. I don't understand. I've been driving very, very gently, and first impressions are it's really comfortable and a lot more responsive than I thought. I thought, you know, I'd press this to get fifth and there'd be a couple of seconds before I see anything happen, but it's not instantaneous, no, and you know, not a DCT box, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. Obviously a lot of people ramble all the time about the SMG boxes in these cars, but I'd imagine most of those people haven't ever experienced one, so it's really not as bad as I had heard about from my experience. So while we're stuck behind some traffic, from a practicality standpoint, there's a massive boot on this car. We'll have to show that in a bit.
It's sort of like a soft top showdown, but with nothing to compare it to.
Yeah, exactly.
we'll tally up the points and then it'll probably win.
It'll probably win, yeah. I mean, the engine in itself just makes it a winner in most scenarios for me. But yeah, in terms of that, you know, there's lots of interior storage, big glove box, big thing here, cup holder. But hey, I'm just gonna go into third gear because we've got a little bit of a corner here.
We have open road.
I mean, I'm not even giving it, you know.
It's a little tickle, basically.
It's a little tickle. It wants to fly.
It does, yeah.
But yeah, it's a very practical car. It is, as you mentioned earlier, 2+2. Meaning there's obviously 2 seats in the front and there's sort of 2 in the back.
There's 2 in the back. I mean,
it's not as bad as a Porsche 911.
Is it a laugh? It's a laugh that there's seats.
It'd be good if you didn't have any legs. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So can we have a little fiddle with the modes then?
You can absolutely. Right.
I'm in manual mode, obviously. Let's put it back into fourth. Gives me a little bit of feel.
Yeah.
If I push the M button.
Yeah.
It's instant. You can feel it actually.
Yeah. So you get sharper. You get sharper throttle response.
Yeah.
You will get. It's set to the highest power setting now, so it's 507.
Yeah.
It hasn't been dynoed, but we'll say 500. The diff sharpens up. The traction control is on, but you can change that so it's off. But we'll keep that on. I think.
Yes, I think so.
But yeah, basically, just it's turned up to 11 and you can tell that it just wants to go.
You can really feel that extra power. 107 brake horsepower doesn't sound like much, but you can
when
definitely
you ran it off the
feel
top
it.
at 400.
And it is the throttle response. It's fast, actually. It's faster than I thought it would be. I don't know why. I mean, I knew it was going to be very quick.
What, you drove the Z4M not long ago?
Yeah, I mean, way faster.
That's an M car, you know, with a decent sized engine.
But whereas that engine on the Z4M, the S54 block, that really does only come alive above 4,000 RPM. Like this, from around 2.5.
It starts to go.
It's definitely got a bit more going on. Yeah. So this actually, although it's extremely refined, and right now I feel like we're doing 15 miles an hour when we're doing 50. It feels quicker.
It can tear your face off if you want it to.
Yeah, we're just about to come through Petworth now, which, oh look at that, has walls on either side. So we should probably open the window somewhat and listen to it a little bit. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is brilliant. I love it.
There we go. But yeah, that throttle response in M mode is a lot. You know, even if you play with your foot slightly, it's going to lurch because it is so responsive.
Yeah. In comfort, there's leeway. You sort of like ease yourself in, but in M mode, it's there, and you can almost feel the car wanting to just chuck the fuel in.
Yeah. And I find the gearbox seems to react, obviously in manual mode, slightly better if you upshift, if you let your foot off.
That is another thing.
I find that if I do that,
there is some videos I've seen on YouTube that do say that you should probably use the gearbox as you would a manual.
Yes.
So you should
just without the clutch action.
Yeah, even though there isn't no clutch, you should lift off in between changes.
Yeah.
It's a little less hard on the gearbox.
Okay then, so it's time for me to give a bit more. I've been driving the car for a little bit now, so it's time for me to give a little bit of a consolidated opinion on what I think about it. The first thing I want to say is that it hasn't disappointed me. I was worried and concerned that driving one finally, after all of this time lusting after one and thinking about getting one next year, I'd drive one eventually and I'd realise it's not as good as I thought. But that is not the case. It has absolutely lived up to my expectations and, if anything, exceeded them. First of all, I thought that it was going to be more difficult to drive. It is a big car and I'm not that used to big cars of this size. So that's the only real difficulty I've experienced. In terms of pulling away in automatic mode and the lurchy SMG system, it's really not presented me too many difficulties at all. And this engine does not disappoint whatsoever. That is exactly how I expected it. It sounds amazing, it pulls so hard, and you know what, I haven't even used all of the revs. So when you fully adjust all the things here, you put it in M mode, you've got 507 brake horsepower, you've got the gear shifts are more ferocious, the car is really aggressive and fast and exhilarating, absolutely exhilarating to drive, and that's what I was really hoping for, and that is absolutely what it has delivered for me. So in terms of me banging on about how much I want to own one of these cars and get one maybe next year, that certainly hasn't changed after driving one finally, and if anything, my desire to have one is now only accentuated and even greater. So this actually could end up being a very expensive video, because it in a way has affirmed the fact that if and when I can do it, I probably will, because this is absolutely fantastic. goodness. I don't think that would ever get boring.
No.
I don't think that ever gets boring.
Nope.
So, if I had to criticise something, now we're going at a more leisurely pace, it would be the steering. Now, it's not really a criticism, I just really want to find something that I don't like, so that this video isn't just me getting overly excited about an M6 for half an hour. The steering is a little bit light, and actually 90% of the time when you're cruising around, you're in automatic mode, going around town or whatever, that's really nice, and it feels great. I have to say the responsiveness of it is very good. I would just like potentially a little bit more feel and a little bit more stiffness in the steering when you're in M mode and when you're really on it and when you want it. Now, we don't know for a fact that that's not something you can adjust, so if it is something you can adjust, we just haven't worked it out, my apologies, and the car is perfect. But if, yeah, one thing that I would say is that you may also be wondering, right, well, when's Joel going to blabber on about the gearbox? And although I have talked about it a lot in this video already, to consolidate my thoughts on it, again, not as bad as I thought and not as bad as everyone seems to make it out. Now, I haven't, driven the latest generation of BMWs and DCT gearboxes in other cars and all the newest transmissions. I haven't driven all of them, and therefore I'm not particularly used to them. So I can imagine if you had an M2, an M4, or something similar, and then you jumped into something like this, you would notice a lot more how laborious the gearbox might be to use. But at least from my experience coming out of a manual car, it's absolutely fine. You've just got to let off when you're downshifting, and also when you're upshifting, let it do its thing. But it's really genuinely not as bad as I was expecting. And although some of you said that gearbox is going to put you off, it really hasn't. Now, a given point that I will acknowledge, and I know all of you will be commenting down below, and rightly so, because you're, I guess, looking out for me in a way, is maintenance costs. Now, yes, these cars are notorious, not just for things to go wrong, but also when those things do go wrong, it's rather expensive. Every car has its faults, some more than others, but this is a V10 high performance engine, and it's an expensive car to maintain. There's a lot of features on it, as we've discussed, a lot of electronics, all things like that considered. It's obviously a really expensive car to maintain and to run if you do it properly, and there is the risk of things going wrong, like any car. So I am very aware of that, and me driving this today doesn't mean that next week I'm going to go out and buy one. I mean, realistically, I probably would if the money was in my bank account, but I will consider a lot more if and when I decide it's time to pull the trigger on one of these. I will consider a lot more about the maintenance costs, whether I can really afford it or not. But apart from that obvious thing, and the steering maybe not being quite as stiff as I expected, I can't fault the car. It is bias. I love this car. It's like a poster car for me in a way, so I really want to like it. So maybe I'm missing things, but it is brilliant. And for the price that these things are, what's better? The other elephant in the room with this car, and again, some of you might be commenting below or thinking it at least, is that, well, if you so desperately want an M6, have you considered an M5? They are more common than the M6s, and it's the car that people generally seem to prefer and enjoy a lot more. However, for a number of reasons, I think that the M6 is better than the M5. Reason number one, this car, opposed to the M5, is lighter than the M6, and it was designed obviously as a coupe to be more track driver focus, I suppose. The M5 is a saloon car, so it can only ever be so good on the road. Things like carbon roof this car has to make it lighter, the M5 doesn't. And like I say, these cars are actually slightly rarer, yet around the same price, if not slightly less than an M5. So the other reason the M6 is better than the M5 in my opinion is what they cost when they were new. Now, this isn't even taking into account inflation. An M5 would have set you back just over £60,000, probably before you put too many options on it. An M6, on the other hand, was over 80 grand, 20 grand more than the M5. the fact that you can now pick one of these up again for the same, if not a little bit less, as an M5 seems to me like a no-brainer. Who is actually going to buy an M5 and daily it and take the kids to school in it? To me it's a no-brainer to have the M6. It's slightly lighter, it's slightly faster. I don't know, the looks are definitely debatable, but I think it looks fantastic. And yeah, it's basically the same price. So you can fight me about it, but I think the M6 is the better car than the M5. Oh, that slammed it, didn't it?
Yeah,
that one?
It did, yeah.
Right, so before we get back to base, we're about to come through the tunnel again. So I'm going to hear it from the driver's seat now, exactly how this thing sounds. I think I can only put this window so far down because of this GoPro. Put that about there, maybe a bit less. Okay. Ready? Oh my goodness! One more?
Yeah. This is for everyone else. F1 car, isn't it?
Wow, 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 wow! That doesn't disappoint.
Nope.
That does not disappoint. So ladies and gents, at this point in the video, I want to say my apologies if my sort of review of the car isn't as comprehensive as you would like. I don't claim to be a car reviewer. My knowledge of cars isn't that deep. I just wanted to get behind the wheel of this today and just show you guys what I thought. And I'm sorry if my words haven't really come out too much, because I've honestly just been having an amazing time, and I hope that comes across, and at least you get something from seeing how this car makes me feel. Now, what we are going to do before the end of this video is look at a few more practicality aspects of the car. There's lots of features like this old infotainment system, which would be good to have a look through and see how that works, as well as looking at the crazy massive boot. So if you are interested in knowing more about the specifics of this car and actually what it's like to live with, stick around to the end of the video and we're going to look at that. But the drive of this car has been fantastic. It hasn't disappointed. That engine really pulls. It's more torquey than I thought lower down in the revs, and yeah, the overriding statement is it's not disappointed. I absolutely love the car, and certainly probably love it even more than before I'd driven it. So happy days, happy days. But sadly it's time to pull over now. Not sadly, because it will still be interesting, but we're going to pull over now and have a look at a few more features of the car. Not before one last little pull though. So then, now that we have pulled over, we thought it'd be useful, didn't we, to sort of talk about more of the features of this car, if you're interested. So let's have a little look around the car first. We can see if we can check out like the boot space, because you mentioned that was really quite something on this car.
Yeah.
Oh
So
wow, yeah, look at that.
see,
You're going to do my soft top showdown way of demonstrating. Yeah, that is... You've got room there for someone else as well.
I mean, potentially, yeah, another small person.
So if I do find out that this car is going to cost me more than I thought, I can actually just get rid of my living arrangements and move in.
Just move in.
Yeah, guys, that is a massive, massive boot.
Can't drive your house, so
no.
It's better. What else have we got? Let's check out the rear leg room because...
Oh, that's an interesting one, yeah, because we were mentioning that earlier.
Really. So that's quite far back. That's in a really nice, comfortable position for the passenger.
Yeah. And is it a manual adjustment?
Yeah. It is. So just move it out of the way. So it's quite far back at the moment. I'm really small.
How tall are you? About
same as you.
That's about 5'9", 5'10".
I'm not that tall.
Oh.
No.
What am I then?
You're about 5'6".
No, I'm like 5'8".
All right, 5'7".
Let's cut. We're both under 6 feet, quite significantly.
By quite a lot. And this is quite far back.
Okay. See if you can see that, guys. So. Oh, that's not as bad as I thought. You know.
I mean, you can't be any taller.
So this seat in the front is that's a really comfortable position.
It's quite. That's really far back.
I mean, that's where I was sitting very comfortably. I think.
If it does go forward. If I suppose, yeah.
Do that somewhat. And look at all of these seat controls, guys. There's so many layers of adjustment even around here, around the front. So yeah, if you put that back, I mean, you could do that, couldn't you? Is it comfortable?
It is actually. It's got a nice armrest in there as well, and I've got a cup holder.
Oh yeah, can't quite see, but I think it's just in there, isn't it?
Yeah, that is. And we've got.
Let's come around here.
First aid.
Oh wow, it's hidden in there, is it?
Yeah, so that's very important.
The only thing that's missing to make this like an executive car is a fridge. If it had a fridge behind there...
It might do, I just don't know about it. Yeah, I don't think it does.
So that just comes back like that. Oh yeah, I could get used to this, you know.
Not too bad, really.
I mean, I'd always rather be driving it, but... Yeah, that's pretty... Yeah. That's perfectly acceptable, isn't it?
Yeah, the only thing is you don't want to be much taller. The headroom.
No, good point. Yeah, so
headroom.
my head is, I'm about 5 foot as we've established, and my head is touching the roof. But I must point out the roof is very nicely Alcantara, so it's not the worst thing for your head to be hitting.
No, and it does slope like it's got a nice coupe shape. So.
Yeah. So okay, yeah, well that's actually interesting and surprising, and definitely way better than a Porsche 911. You can get 2 adults in the back here. Probably wouldn't want to go too far, and you know, this could always be moved slightly further forward. But yeah, it does slouch you down quite nicely, doesn't it?
Yeah,
quite
good. Nice.
So we've been mainly positive of this car, and I've been mainly positive of this car throughout the review. But this is somewhere where it definitely will fall down just because of its age. It is the infotainment system there. So we're going to have a quick look through that. You were going to kindly explain.
Yeah, so it has got satellite navigation. I was just going to show you how you could input a destination.
So you're using the...
Yeah, so we're using this as... We're sliding this like up, down, left and right, and then turning to scroll through the options. So if we wanted to do a new destination, we'd have to spell it out. So you get this alphabet up here, and then you use the iDrive to scroll through.
Oh wow, literally to select each individual
But
letter.
if you go back to the start or past the finish, it won't let you scroll anymore. If you feel it actually resists.
I remember seeing that in Top Gear. They've actually gone to the extent of programming it so that the computer knows where...
You can't spin it infinitely.
That is quite impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, so you'd have to spell out your destination in there.
Can you configure some other cool things?
Yeah, so the M button that we press for all the lovely noises and speed.
Yeah.
If I just go back menu, so this is the default settings. If you just press down on that button there, it takes you to that screen. One of the things you will need to look at is the service. So it does bring up, it's quite good, it does bring up all the components in the car. It tells you what sort of state they're in. And this has just been serviced, so
everything's okay.
It's not too bad, yeah. And it doesn't have a dipstick.
Okay. So is that what I saw on the little screen there when I was driving it, when I was scrolling through?
Yeah, so you have to go into this service menu, and it's engine oil level, obviously, and it will tell you, you have to turn it on to read it, but you can't just pull the dipstick out because there isn't one. So if to check the oil, the computer tells you. On here you'll notice it doesn't have any of the airflow controls that you would see on maybe a normal car.
No.
So we only have the temperature for each side, passenger and driver, with how much air conditioning you want.
And obviously you can just move these as well if you want.
Yeah, these just manual. But there's no directional controls, so you would have to set it up in here, which that is a bit outdated.
Yeah, and a little bit cumbersome, especially if you're the only one in the car and you have to control it whilst you're driving.
So the idea is, I suppose, that you could go into this and then choose how much air you want coming into your face or on the screen or to the feet, which obviously isn't as handy as having the controls here to hand, but it does keep the dash quite clean.
Yeah, it's quite a minimalistic design, isn't it? And I was going to say, this obviously is a car from an era where computers were becoming more sort of common.
Yeah, and this
in cars especially.
This car was quite ahead of its time for the amount of computing power that it had.
Yes.
Had a lot of computers in it, like the dipstick thing. It doesn't have one, and quite a lot of other features like that would all be controlled by the computer.
Which at the time was probably really cool. But now it's more of a sort of annoyance, I suppose.
Yeah.
So if you guys can see that, that's the heads-up display. It is quite hard to see actually, but you might be able to see it somewhat. It's flickering away there, but yeah, you've got that in front of you when you're driving, which I have found to be very useful. You've got basically just a big rev counter with your speed there as well, but yeah, sorry, it's flickering away, so you might not be able to see. And then, yeah, you've got two massive dials here in front of you, with a small computer in the middle where you can adjust certain things. You can have the temperature displayed, your range, which is always going to be low, average MPG, which today genuinely is pretty good at 20.6, and oil level and time, temperature. But yeah, speedo that goes up to 200 miles an hour, that's crazy. And the rev counter on the right, which revs all the way to almost 8,500 RPM. I think it's 8,250 to be specific. But yeah, lots and lots of features in this car. Certainly enough so that you'd have enough to play with on a long journey. And yeah, things like heated seats, lots of seat adjustability, electric mirrors, automatic lights, automatic wipers, all of that sort of stuff that you would expect, and cruise control too. So yeah, plenty and plenty to play with in here, and I hope, you know, there's not that many M6 videos on YouTube, so I thought it would be worth going into some detail here today about the infotainment system, about, you know, what this car is about, other than the most important thing, let's face it, that amazing V10 engine and its sound. So I hope you have found that informative and interesting. So lastly as well, obviously I've spoken about it while I've been behind the wheel, but I thought I'd show you the controls that you've got down here. So firstly, as I mentioned, you've got the gear shift ferocity. There are 6, I think if I count that correctly, settings, obviously up and down, or up and down. Yeah, and in normal mode it will just be on the lowest, and the gearbox doesn't really lurch too much. And then when you put it all the way up to the 6th setting, the car really punches the gears in. Then you've got electronic, I believe, dampening control. I could be completely wrong with that, but either way it affects the suspension, I think. So obviously when both lights are off, it's soft, and when both of them on, it is the stiffest it will go. DSC, dynamic stability control, that's obviously going to stay on for most of the time, I believe, unless you're on track. And power, obviously this unleashes the full 507 bhp that you can have, in addition to the normal 400. But also over here on the wheel, you've got the M button, which obviously you can configure in the iDrive system, and when you push the M button, literally the one push of that button, power mode comes on, DSC will come on how you've configured it, along with the EDC and the gear shifts. So there's quite a lot of adjustability, but really there's only a few sort of ways you can do it, so it's not too much to get your head round. And it just adds another level of excitement to the car that you can do all of this. Like, if I had one, every time I'd drive it, I'd like try a different mode and just see how it reacts differently. But most of the time, I think it would just be an M mode, because that probably is the most fun. But yeah, A, I thought it would be trickier to drive. B, I was worried that the SMG gearbox was going to be terrible, but I actually quite enjoyed using it. And even these pedals that are actually quite satisfying to click. And C, I was thinking there'd be a lot of, because I've seen all of this stuff about the gearbox, whatnot, and all the controls. I thought there'd be a lot for me to get my head round, but there's not. You can just get in the car and drive it, and you've got the head-up display above you, and all you really need to think about is the M button and the gearbox. But that's not really too dissimilar to any other modern-day BMW. So yeah, all in all, as I've said, this car has really exceeded my expectations, and I absolutely love it. And just looking at how the speedo goes up to 330 kilometers an hour, it is an absolutely mental beast. So yeah, I don't want to leave it. Well, there we have it. That is the end of today's video. I have to say, probably the most fun I've ever made, like most fun I've ever had making a video in my life. The M6 is a beast, and it's definitely on my shortlist for a car that I will 100% own at some point. Hopefully that's next year, but you'll have to stay tuned, guys, for that. I can't make any promises. I don't know what my situation is going to be like next year. We'll find out. But I hope you found this video informative nonetheless. Thank you so much to Matty for bringing the M6 down, giving me his time today, and allowing me to really experience it for what it is. You have Drive Tribe, don't you? Yeah, I do have Drive Tribe. It's pretty good. I will leave a link to Matty's Drive Tribe in the description. He's going to potentially do something from today's filming as well, so yeah, possibly by the time this video goes out, you never know, there might be something there. So go ahead and check out Matty's Drive Tribe. Of course, you can follow me on all the normal places, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. And of course, if you're not subscribed here on YouTube, go ahead and click that big red button now, because there will be some more very exciting content coming soon. So once again, thanks so much to Matty, thanks to you guys for watching, and I will see you very, very soon.